Welcome aboard the National Geographic Quest, and welcome to Southeast Alaska. We have an amazing week ahead of us. We'll be frolicking with some of the more magnificent creatures that this planet has to offer. Southeast Alaska is truly a magnificent place where you have some of the largest biomass on the planet. You're in the midst of the largest temperate rainforests on the planet. We'll spend time with some of the largest animals this planet sees. It's truly one of the most spectacular places I've ever been, and I cannot wait to share it with you.
Alaska!
Once again, welcome aboard the National Geographic Quest into Southeast Alaska. The next week is going to be an unbelievable experience for all of us.
So this forest here, we're in the Tongass National Forest. We got about 17 million acres of forest here in the National Forest land within Southeast Alaska. You're gonna be seeing two significant trees, the Sitka spruce and the western hemlock. And you're gonna notice that it's a really different forest once we enter from what you have here at the edge. This is called Devil's Club. And the reason I wanted to point it out, because this is the one that if you happen to not be on the gravel trail, which is every other place will be, and you go to fall, it's like the one that will probably be where your hand is going, and I would highly recommend you doing all in your power to not grab that, because you're going to notice it has spines all along it. So up here on the right, just as we walk by a little bit more, look for, you'll see a stump where another tree started growing out of it. And so it's that downed wood that is, as it's decomposing, it's offering organic matter up for new growth.
Excellent. You guys offer a tow for the way back?
This is the first time this year that we have spotted bubblenet feeding, so it's a really special phenomenon that we get to see these humpback whales collaborating in order to feed together in pods to bubble net. And essentially what that means is they create a big net of bubbles that corrals all these herring into one spot and allows them to come up and feed together. Right now we think that there are 5 or 6 of them in there, and each one of those bubble netters has a specific task or job for them within that specific group. Some of them are vocalizers, some of them are the ones that create the bubble, and the other ones will be there to help corral the fish on the outside with their pectoral flippers to make sure that no fish come out of that. Just another day in Southeast Alaska, really. It's beautiful.
So today we are here in Glacier Bay National Park, also known in Tlingit, the local indigenous language, as Sit-Iti-Gi, the bay in the place of the glacier. This is the ancestral homeland of the Hunnik Tlingit people. As a national park, it is one of our nation's largest, at over 3 million acres, containing a bay that spans over 65 miles from the base all the way to its head. Today, we've had the privilege to explore that bay, to see some of the richness that it has to offer, both on land and sea, its creatures, its glaciers, its people. One of the longest stops that we took today was at a place called South Marble Island. And this is an island right in the middle of the bay, so it's isolated from all kinds of different predators, which means we get this unique chance to observe the wildlife that feel totally safe and protected there. Now, one of the major things that we're looking at South Marble Island is the stellar sea lion population. This is one of their major haul-outs in the bay, which means you have these massive animals lunging themselves onto the rocks, hooting, snorting at one another. We saw a couple fighting or chasing each other, sliding back down off the rocks and playing in the water right near the boat. And for birders too, this is a really phenomenal stop. People come out of their way to see the bird life present on this rock. We have nesting rookeries of pigeon guillemots, of tufted puffins, horned puffins. We've got mew gulls, glaucous-winged gulls, black-legged kittiwakes, pelagic cormorants. It is truly a birder's paradise. So Gloomy Knob is our mountain goat stop, and we stop there because this is this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to witness these charismatic mammals that are specially evolved to live in highly cliffy, extraordinarily rugged terrain. They have this beautiful, fluffy white fur and these hooves that are so malleable, sponge-like, and yet with these tough, hard edges, it allows them to grip onto ledges as narrow as 1 inch across. And today we had this really special opportunity not only to see the goats themselves, but to see them with their recently newborn kids. The kids probably were born within the last month or so, so we got some very cute shots of mothers and kids frolicking across those hillsides. One of the cool things that you see here as you travel up bay on the ship is that as you go further north, the water really begins to change color. Down by Icy Strait, where we first entered Glacier Bay, it's this dark, rich marine blue, but as you go up and up and up, it starts to take on this really incredible milky turquoise color. And that's how you know you're getting close to these massive tidewater glaciers that still live at the head of the bay. Now, as I said, Marjorie Glacier is tidewater, which means this glacier, which comes out of the Fairweather Mountains, the highest coastal mountains in the world, snakes all the way down here to Glacier Bay, where it ends. Its terminus is at the bay itself. So we had the rare opportunity to watch a calving event here today. We saw a big chunk of ice calve off of the glacier, fall off of the glacier into the water with this dramatic boom. Glacier Bay National Park is not only one of the most beautiful, pristine places in our country and in the world, but it is also a testament to the incredible dynamism of this region. We have glaciers calving into the ocean. We have all kinds of both marine and terrestrial productivity. We can see ecological succession taking place as we go from the base of the bay all the way up to the top. It is truly a living laboratory for some of the greatest changes that are taking place on this earth today. And we had a phenomenal day watching it all happen.
So we're in Cross Sound, all right, and this group of islands right here called the Indian Islands. So we're gonna go explore those and see what we can find. There's a lot of life here because there's a lot of nutrients coming up from the bottom of the ocean, because as the tides come in, like they're doing, it brings those things up from the bottom towards the surface. So the animals don't have to work as hard to get them. It's like a smorgasbord of seafood. So this is bull kelp, quite edible. You want to taste it? Anybody?
Is that good?
It is good. It's like salty sea leather.
Salty, yeah, we have that for lunch all the time.
Yeah, you'll find it in Costco soon enough in big packages, right?
Actually, it's good.
They have kelp in
And it also makes a great bull horn.
It takes some pressure. Good.
These are stellar sea lions. Some of these have come all the way from western Alaska out in the Aleutians, because the numbers there are plummeting. And they're probably plummeting because their main food supply, the pollock, is being overfished. So they're coming here looking for food. So these animals are what's called thigmotactic, meaning they love to touch and cajole and push and shove each other like little adolescent boys on the playground. So these sea otters is why the Russians came here in the late 1700s. You learned about that in Sitka. They were after their fur, right, which has is the densest fur of any mammal in the world. That fur keeps them warm. They don't have blubber, so they're constantly rolling over, blowing air into their fur, keeping themselves clean, and that way they stay warm and insulated. They rarely haul out of the water. Sometimes you see them on a rock right near the surface of the water, but they'll be able to get right back in quickly. At Fox Creek, we had the opportunity to go hiking in a very beary area. A lot of bears on a regular basis visit this site, where they leave their marks in the perennial tracks. These bears walk in the same spots, time after time. It's a place they can leave their messages, such as what they're interested in, who they are, how big they are, and what they might be doing there. Around here's some foam flower. Have them smell that, in they go, rub it around.
Okay, so we are standing here amid a whole big bunch of skunk cabbage. So skunk cabbage is a pretty cool plant. It is the very first thing to emerge in the spring because, for reasons that we don't fully understand, it's able to generate its own heat in the ground up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, melting the snow around it, which allows it to emerge early. This means that it's a super important forage plant for deer, bears, and other folks coming out in the spring who've gone through a long, hard winter of not all that much to eat.
These scratch trees are places where bears leave their marks. They get a chance to express who they are, and they'll stand on their hind feet and put their marks on the trees so that other bears can detect who's been there and what they had to say.
What are you doing?
I'm a bear, marking my scent, marking my territory.
I always love coming to dive here in Southeast Alaska. The nutrient-rich, oxygen-rich waters brings in a lot of food for invertebrates, fish, and other marine life. The invertebrates here are extremely abundant, and you'd always be amazed at the amount of color that's in the waters. During this trip, we got the opportunity to see some beautiful nudibranchs, the sea slugs. We also saw a whelk snail laying eggs and some great sculpin fish. If you've never been diving in cold waters before, I would highly suggest it. It is well worth what you're going to see.
My name's Chris Lachelle, and I came on the expedition with my family for my mom's 80th birthday. One of my hobbies that gets me outside, which is a healthy thing to do, is bring a gold pan with you. And I take some beach sand and I sift it down, get all the heavy stuff out. And on 2 beaches so far, I've found trace amounts of gold, which is amazing because most of the gold should be up in the Klondike. They said you'll never find gold down here, and yet here it is. And so what we start doing is we start moving the heavier stuff. Will stick up on top. Right there.
Water's so clear. So nice.
I'm gonna die!
Now try again, a little bit at a time. Alright, look where you're going.
Got this.
Yeah, you're doing good. No, you're doing good.
Petersburg, Alaska is a historic fishing village, and it still remains that way today. Behind me you can see several different kinds of vessels that we have in the harbor. Everything from purse seiners, where they catch squid, to bottom trawlers where they catch shrimp, and also the crabbers as the crabbing season begins. Here in Petersburg, Alaska, the crabbing season is just about to begin. In just a few days, all of these vessels behind me that are crabbers with the large crab pots on the backs are going to be out in the Pacific Ocean hunting for crab. You can tell the crabbers apart from the other types of vessels we have in the harbor based on the gear that's on board. There are several large crab pots, and they will stack them up, about 10 crab pots in each stack. We also have bottom trawlers in this area. The way that you can recognize those vessels looking out here in the harbor is you can tell by the big doors they have on, sometimes made out of wood, sometimes made out of metal. Those doors help to sink the net towards the bottom of the ocean in order to scoop up the animals that live down there. The purse seining vessel itself, you can tell it's a purse seiner by the big net that it has on the back. There is a secondary vessel that is called a purser, and its entire job is to open up the net in a nice bowl shape. It takes one big circle from the main vessel, goes all the way around. It's like a drawstring bag where they close it open like that, haul the rest of the fish on board and separate them in different sizes. The dock systems in this harbor are home to many invertebrate species. A few of the notable species that live underneath these docks are the anemones, the feather duster worms, and the sea stars. It's a privilege to be on the dock system in Petersburg, Alaska, where we see all the fishing families coming together, getting ready for the fishing season.
So here we are in the muskeg bog. Hope everyone has noticed how different an ecosystem this is from the forest that we just hiked through. You got these pools of standing water, you have almost no trees. The trees that we do have are a totally different species and look sort of stunted and have these somewhat umbrella-like canopies, sphagnum holding onto water, secreting acid into it, and creating these environments that are only tolerable by a handful of plant species. So it's here in our muskeg bogs that we often find different kinds of carnivorous plants. So that sundew, you can see it looks like a sun with little red rays coming out of it. And it looks like it has little tiny dewdrops all over it. So when a fly or an ant or some kind of other flying or crawling insect ends up on them, they basically get stuck in that gooey stuff, and the plant can fold over the insect and digest it.
We've seen an awesome sunset and then a bouncing baby whale that just keeps, he doesn't believe in bedtime. Seeing it flopping and bouncing and breaching, and we thought it was an orca, but it's a humpback, and it is a calf.
Welcome to the bowels of the earth, otherwise known as Tracy Arm. Here in the Tracy Arm Forged Terra Wilderness area. The bowels of the earth, because what we're going through here is a fjord that's been carved out by the glaciers about 10 to 15,000 years ago during the Wisconsin glacial period. There was over a mile thick sheet of ice here, 5,000, maybe 6,000 feet up above us. Ground all these tops down. That's why they're all rounded at the top. We're not seeing jagged peaks, because the ice was all the way up there at the top. It's receded back, compressed down. What we have left is the Sawyer Glacier over here today. We're going to go see the face of it. These are harbor seals, and they tend to stay within about a 20-mile range their whole lives, sometimes less. But they all come here in the summer, this time of year, to calve, to give birth to their pups, and because it's a safe spot for them. They're not vulnerable to predators.
Prepare to be boarded.
All right, we have hot chocolate, we have cocoa, we have peppermint schnapps, and Baileys. Baileys, another one?
Through everywhere, see random people.
Good?
Cheers.
Cheers.
The whole thing is so huge. I mean, I knew it would be beautiful, and it is, but it's just so enormous and so wonderful to walk through the forest and enjoy the scenery. It's been incredible.
I love all the animals. I think the seals are so beautiful, even more beautiful than the sea lions, which is hard to believe. I'd love to just pet one. It was the whales. The whales are the most magical thing of everything, of all of it.
The one word that sticks to my mind is freshness. I mean, the vitality of the place, when you look at the contrast between what the glaciers have done and the revitalisation that we see, and yet the challenge of keeping it as it is a very big one. So to see it firsthand and to experience it is a very special week from our point of view.
So, great tool users, they swim down deep, they go down to the bottom, they grab their food, they come up to their kelp bed, and they get on their backs, and they grab their food, and they put it on their bellies or rock hard abs, and they take their tool and they destroy it.